Okay guys, tonight I'm going to talk to you about one word, and it's koinonia. I am never going to forget about the first time I ever heard this word. I was a teenager at a men's conference over the weekend, and the older gentleman who stood up and was talking about this, he started his message off by saying, he looked around the room and said, "Gentlemen, this weekend we are going to have intercourse with one another." And of course, being a teenager who was immature, knowing full well that majority of the time we like to pair that word intercourse with sexual, I looked around the room at all the men and I was like, no, we're not. But intercourse being the definition, of course, there's so many kinds, and right now we're talking about social intercourse. It's the communication or dealings between individuals or groups. It's like the passing of life back and forth. It's just being together. It's iron sharpening iron in the Christian world, right? But the word koinonia means Christian fellowship or communion with God, or more commonly with fellow Christians. Okay, so that's my story. I'm never going to forget what koinonia means, nor the first time I ever heard it. I was looking at this pamphlet. I work at a school. I'm a custodian, and we're learning about all these things that happen to children at young ages and all these conditions and stuff. And I came across this thing called failure to thrive syndrome due to our environment. Kids who don't get enough attention or enough nourishment or enough love, and that kind of stuff can mess with them all the way till they're old and they get serious health problems, or even as children, it can cause them to die. And there's a lot of other medical reasons why you can have failure to thrive syndrome. I came home and looked it up because I had never heard of it before. But a lot of it is factors in the children's their environment, and a lot of times the cause can't be determined. It's just environmental. It's the loss of an emotional bond between parent and child, or there's problems between them and their caregiver, and it's weird. But I thought about that, and I thought about Christians, and how we can do the same thing. If we don't have the proper relationship between us and the Lord, or even with one another, we can kind of go through failure to thrive syndrome spiritually too. And so I want to talk to you today about koinonia. It's a nice little word. A lot of times today we interchange koinonia with fellowship, and I don't think that our current definition of the word fellowship does the word koinonia justice at all. Fellowship is, typically when we think about it, we think of potluck dinners, game nights, getting together for movies, barbecues, for that. But koinonia kind of fellowship is much more than just potluck meals. Fellowship in the koinonia definition is selfless, not selfish, selfless immersion into each other's lives. I want to read Acts 2:41 through 47 real quick, and it says, "So then, those who had received his word were baptized, and there were added that day about 3,000 souls. And they were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship. And they were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. And everyone kept feeling a sense of awe, and many wonders and signs were taking place through the apostles. All those who had believed were together and had all things in common, and they began selling their property and possessions, and were sharing them with all, as anyone might have need. And day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number day by day those who were being saved." Pretty cool. That is basically, this passage of scripture here is basically the definition of the word koinonia, scripturally anyway. That's the definition of koinonia. And in the church today, like I said, we often take for granted what the word fellowship means. We think of ice cream socials and pizza parties and all this other fun, great stuff, which, good. I'm all for a nice potluck meal. I like food. But it doesn't do justice. Fellowship, by our definition, and fellowship by the Lord's definition, have you ever went and read through the book of Acts and then went to church right afterwards? It's a little bit depressing to look at what Jesus' definition of church is, and then look at kind of, culturally what it's become. Fellowship from this set of scriptures, it kind of, koinonia. It means to be a sharer. You share something, a companion, one who is a partaker, not just one taking, but you come, you're participating in the communion of being together. And I just think that too often, as Christians, we there's that verse that says, "Do not forsake the gathering together, as as some of you have, or as many of you have." And we look at that as fellowship as like attendance, and so we read, fellowship, attendance. We have to be at church on Sunday, and we have to, go to Wednesday Bible study and Saturday men's meeting, and we have to go, we have to be there. And so we come together and we cram everybody in the same room. Well, you come in, but just being present, just coming and congregating together, that's not fellowship. That's not the church in Acts. That's not what I read in Acts. That's not the definition of koinonia. Matter of fact, looking at it, just showing up, attending, coming in last minute, and then leaving early at the end, that's not even my definition of fellowship. We have to come together and function properly, not just show up, but function. There's that verse about the body, and it says that, the hand can't tell the eye, I don't need you, or vice versa, or whatever. And, my eyeball works because it's in the eye socket. It's attached to everything that it needs to be attached to, and it's sending the waves and stuff back and forth, and that's why it works. If I took my eye out and held it in my hand, it could be together. I still have my eye, but it's not going to work. It's not going to function properly without being A, healthy, and B, where it's supposed to be, and all sorts of stuff. And so we need to worry about not so much our attendance, whether we are there or not there, but we need to be there. We need to be there. That's, if you're born again, you need to meet with other believers. That's kind of like a New Testament thing that's not optional, as far as for spiritual growth, both in the individual and as the local body. But so that's not a question. Your attendance is important, but it's koinonia, fellowship. It's more important than just showing up. It's functioning. It's coming together and doing your part, not just sitting there and being served, but coming and doing your part, using your gift. Fellowship is what goes on while we're eating together. This is the thing. There's something about humans that makes us bond together better when we share meals. It's true. We have to eat together, break bread together. God made us that way. I love a good meal. But what happens is this: as we're sitting around the table eating food, again, I'm encouraging you right now, have those potluck meals, have those game nights, do what you got to do, because as we're sitting around, we talk about our joys, we talk about our pains, our struggles, our triumphs. We begin to get to know each other. We begin to bear one another's burdens. We celebrate with each other. We cry with each other. We can pray for each other only once we share with each other what's going on. I don't know what to pray for you if I don't know you at all. The effective Christian life is not meant to be lived alone. A Christian who lives a life away from other Christians will never mature and not persevere in the faith without fellowship. I look at it from this perspective. The Lone Ranger kind of Christian will develop failure to thrive syndrome. You need each other. It's important. We are better together. That's church. That's what God intended to be. So I have some questions for you today. I'm just going to keep it, kind of shorter. Just think about this. When you go to service, whenever service is, what do you expect to gain while you're there? What do you expect to get out of this service? And then also, what do you want to leave? Not like your coat, not your wallet, not like leave it a belonging, but one, what do you want to get out of this gathering together? And two, what would you want to instill into others from you into this group? What do you have to offer? What gift has the Lord blessed you with to come and edify the body with? So again, the words koinonia, fellowship. I encourage you that if you don't regularly attend anything, if you're a born-again believer, like I said, it's like New Testament, it's like non-optional fellowship. It's important. It's how the Lord builds. It's how the church gets together, the body grows through fellowship. When you function properly, it's so important. So I encourage you today to get with other believers, get in a church setting, get where the Lord is moving, get with people with share common mind, common goals and things, and again, a lot of it's sharing the same mindset, and we have to have the mindset of Christ. A lot of times we break fellowship because we come with our own agendas, and we come with we all care about church, but we all care about what I'm doing and not what others are doing, and so that's part of it. But we have to come together under the one mindset of the Lord, which is to love Him first, and then to love each other. And when we do that, and we come and we know that we're going to expect to receive something from the Lord, whether it's through another believer or directly from the Lord, and then also that the Lord has given me something to deposit. It's important that I'm there, because if I'm not only do I miss, but somebody else misses too. It's pure fellowship. It's intercourse. It's the giving and receiving. It's the exchange of life. The Lord brings us together for that reason. He wants us to grow and mature, so that we can be one mind, His mind, so that we can go out and function, share each other's burdens, and everybody comes together so the body can work. I've said this numerous times. If my body was stripped apart and had pieces here and pieces there, who cares if it was if you picked it up and put it in the same box? If you congregated all my body pieces together, unless it was put together and functioned properly, it wouldn't work. It would just sit in that box and do nothing. So it's important that when we go to church, when we gather together, we function properly, because otherwise we're just empty bones sitting in a box doing nothing. So again, what do you want to receive from this setting, and what do you feel like the Lord is putting you to deposit? Seek the Lord, guys. Seek the Lord, and seek fellowship. Part of seeking the Lord is seeking fellowship, and that's the right kind of fellowship. It's koinonia. Have a nice day, guys. God bless.